Well, good morning, everybody. Here's some of the highlights we've got in the forecast over the next couple of weeks. One of the big things I'll be continuing to watch is the major deficits in moisture across the northern tier of the United States. From the upper Midwest to the northern plains, back here to the western northern plains, getting into the Canadian prairie, these are areas that continue to miss. If we look back since the beginning of this new year, the lack of good polar jet stream flow is what's really influenced this area. We've been drier in western Texas, we've been drier in New Mexico, and right here along the Carolina coast. These are the main areas that have yet to get good moisture back into place. Now, thinking about the last week, of course, I just want to remind you that big winter storm systems like the one we just endured on the West Coast, this is the type of thing that typically happens. It's 1, 2, or 3 big systems that come into the west that provide them with almost an entire year's worth of moisture. And it's also to point out that we do have another system that's going to be rolling through this area, adding in even more precipitation over the next couple of days. But I was very happy to see that the basin average snow water content here, these numbers have really started to come up in a big way across much of the Colorado Basin, the Sierra Nevada, the Great Basin. And it's just here along the northern tier of the U.S. mountain ranges that we still have to get more snow in place. Now, just thinking about snow, I do want to point out that as of February 7th, our snow depth map around the U.S. is just reflects how mild the conditions have been. And so the question is, are we going to get any sense of a change out of this? Well, one of the things I've been monitoring most closely, in addition to the storm system that's coming to California the next couple of days, adding more, the snow that'll begin to get into Arizona throughout the Rocky Mountains here, and then ejecting. This will be a nice one to see coming through this section of North America. There is a system, it's going to be a few days away from us, that could possibly roll through the country like this, increasing the risk of New England snow, and then maybe, and that's a big maybe, a chance of getting some snow right through this stripe of the midsection of the country. The map I'm drawing on here is the probability of getting at least 3 inches of snow in the next 10 days. But it's a combination of these 3 waves. Watch this reset. There we go. 1, 2, and 3. All of these pivoting around this much deeper long wave here that have to come together. And this is the kicker. This is the last one. So let's go ahead and have a look at what this all means. Today's all hazards weather map, a lot of winter storm warnings out here throughout the Rocky Mountains, getting back into Nevada, and then still more snow expected to be added here along the Sierra Nevada. The flood watches continue for Southern California. Strong winds here, a lot of dense fog that's still in parts of the Midwest. We do have the coastal flood advisory that's out for this part of the mid-Atlantic. Going right to the high-res NAM, we got 2 systems to watch. The first one's going to be rolling through the northern plains. And I just want to make a point that the transition to rain to snow is going to get all the way past the 49th here, really getting up pretty far into parts of southern Manitoba and Ontario. The snow on the backside is desperately needed. I just want to make a point that to the south of this, though, we have to watch out for the risk of some storms. I know you're going to watch this and not see much in the model, but I want you to understand that we're opening up a pretty broad area in through here of very mild conditions. Will destabilize the atmosphere. And I just think we have the shot at getting some storms in those areas. We will convert over to snow throughout much of North Dakota, getting into Minnesota and northern Wisconsin once we get through Thursday into Friday. But that system curls up pretty far to the north here in Ontario by Friday midday. Taking this back, next shortwave comes through parts of California, adding more rain throughout much of California, heavy snows in the Sierra Nevada. And then as we play this forward, take a look at what happens to Arizona right here. This is getting into Thursday morning, Thursday afternoon and evening. There's going to be some locally very heavy snow, maybe around Flagstaff here, adding up quite a bit before this gets into the Central Rockies. Now, those are the first 2 systems. The one that follows it's quite impressive. So let's kind of take a look at that in the GFS versus the European quickly here. So this is playing through Thursday, getting into Friday. Now watch, on Saturday, there's going to be a lingering frontal boundary here. It's in both models. And the next low that's coming out, this is the one that's currently sitting over the Aleutian Islands, is going to follow that pressure trough. Where is it? It's right in through here. Now, what we've got in the current comparison between the GFS and the European are different solutions on where the snow could be. But just watch this again. This is Sunday through Tuesday. That's going to be the next system to keep an eye on, and its potential for snow on its northern side, heavy rain and thunderstorms on its southern side as it moves toward New England. So just thinking about that over the next week, this is what the European model has for total accumulated precip. I think the European is the better initialized model. So that's what we've got. Heaviest rains are here. If we flip over to the snow side of it, this is the European model's forecast on snow. I would like to compare that to the GFS for you. European operational run, GFS operational run. Very different solutions on what this thing could be. Please remember from yesterday, I don't have a solid even opinion on what this could look like just yet. A lot of spread in the models. If we go from there to the wetter side of this is the highest probability of getting an inch right in this area. But take a look at Arizona. Look at parts of the Intermountain West, even in California. In fact, we stepped this up to 2 inches. Very high chances in this area. Beyond that, the jet stream goes back almost zonal late in the time period toward the end of February, and it stays south. And that is why the week 2 forecasts are wet all across the southern tier of the United States, drier across the northern half. It's a pretty consistent picture here. No polar jet, hard to get the moisture to return farther to the north. Temperature-wise, still very, very mild across the eastern half of North America, cooler in the southwest, but we've pushed some warmer air back into Alaska. What that's doing is day 5 through 10 into day 10 through 15 is letting that out into Canada, letting it out into the plains and pushing it into the southeast, which is where we expect to see the colder conditions. Okay, go watch that longer video where I step into the longer range forecast. We pick up with the lack of MJO movement. We then talk about the late February to late March outlook, which looks something drier here, wetter plains, very wet over Florida, which hasn't seen the sun in a long time down here. And this whole setup looks very much like what we'd expect into March every time we've had an El Nino. But I go back into that video, go watch the longer one, we talk about how March and April is going to be the challenging month to forecast. Very challenging, and I just bring this up for Monday. To finish this up, though, I also compare the new update from the NMME to the European. This is March, April, and May, very similar forecasts. And then we walk into what's going on in South America. Broader picture of global precipitation anomalies. The big thing for South America is that front right there tomorrow, knocking the temperatures back and bringing in the rain. And as that rain comes in Argentina, it's going to end what's been about a 10-day stretch of very hot and dry conditions. And that rain's going to go a long way to repair some damage, I think. The last thing we cover is this. The new NME goes over drier across much of Brazil for April, May, and June. And we're still concerned because of El Nino of an early shutdown of the monsoon here, which could affect safrinha crops. So hopefully I covered that quickly enough for you, but we'll wrap it up here and I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.